we actually officially hit a 10x from my first entry. So I bought it back in June at 55 cents. I bought it at 50 and 60. So the average was around 55 back in June of 2023. We hit $5.50 there yesterday and then again this morning, which would be officially a 10x. But that's not, I think we go much higher, much, much higher. I think we go beyond all-time high. Is it going to happen right away, right now? I'm not saying that necessarily. We're in this acceleration phase. There hasn't been a weekly pullback, even a red weekly candle in several weeks. So we're getting to the point of what could be a blow off top for the first push. But these can get crazier. The biggest moves can come towards the end of these pumps. If you look at like some coins that grew from relative obscurity last cycle, you can see how in these phases you can have moves like this, where you're having these big weekly candles and they look like blow off tops, and you have big corrections, and then it accelerates more and more and more. And from Aave, when it was already looking overbought, right, as it pushed towards its old all-time high. So Akash's all-time high is here, and it's roughly around here. If you're looking at it as a comparison, Akash is like somewhere in this area. It doesn't mean it's going to go here, but in that phase, it went 4x. It went from 20 to 80, 88 in the space of the next few weeks. It's one of those areas where you don't want to be trying to trade it. You just want to be holding and seeing what happens. I'm not saying it goes 4x from here. In fact, I don't think it will on this push. But when you're in this last part, it can be the most aggressive, and it's where actually a lot of the price appreciation can come from. So I do think Akash goes higher. I do think that it eventually breaks its all-time high. And I do think after that it's going to have a significant correction. Where that will go to, I don't know. I'm looking at the weekly bands. So let's say something this would be like the best case scenario, in my opinion, where it blasts through all-time high, has a big correction, right, a 50, 60% correction, and the weekly bands are then the one you want to watch out for, right? You want to watch for price to come up to the weekly bands, and maybe it'll probably go down below them and then consolidate and go higher. That's one potential. But to say, there's going to be a big correction, like, it's easy to say that. There's obviously going to be one. The question is not if, it's when. And for me, I have no intention of selling anything yet. The Coinbase listing is coming. And of course, Coinbase listings, a lot of time people think that's the top. There is going to be selling, because there's a lot of holders that are waiting for the liquidity, right, at the moment. And just to put it in really simple terms, if you wonder why did this Coinbase mark a top or a local top a lot of times in these coins, it's because big players with big portfolios or big stacks of AKT, they're going to want to sell. And they can't really sell at the moment. You could sell a bit of Akash, but you can't sell massive amounts. Now, the volumes are way up. So Akash's volume had typically been only between the 2 and 7 million, each day, right? So on average, Akash would do $3 or $4 million of volume a day. Now, in the past few weeks, it's much more like 7 or 8 million, right? We've got a bunch of days over 10 million. You got a 17 million day yesterday. You've got 8s and 6s regularly. So the total volume is rising. Now, of course, that's also a function of price. The volume is price times the number of coins traded. So if it's obviously going to be 17 million if price is 530, when price was back at 230 or 240 or 250, the volume would relatively be lower. It's a bigger asset now. It's twice the size. It's literally doubled in the past month. But all else being equal, right, the AKT, where am I going here? The AKT total volume is 21 million in the past 24 hours. If you add Coinbase tomorrow, that's going to be 30 million, 40 million, because it's a brand new market. It opens up a whole new wave of buyers, and there has to be a seller for those buyers. So if you have, let's say you have $10 million worth of Akash and you want to sell it, you can't. You can't be half of the daily volume. You couldn't sell it all in one day without nuking the chart. There's just not enough liquidity. If you're selling it on KuCoin, you can see here, there's only 68,000 either and 48,000 either side. So plus and minus 2%. If you just market bought or market sold more, like if you market bought or market sold 100K of Akash on KuCoin, you would slip price more than 2%. You're not going to get good exits. It's going to be inefficient. Osmosis is the most liquid. You've got about 100K. So you could reasonably get rid of 6 figures of a cash there if you wanted to. But it's not a trader's coin. And this is why, it's a buy and hold coin. You do not want to trade these coins before they get the big exchanges. You're literally front running the institutions, the big players. And there are going to be big players and institutions and Wall Street, smart money. They're going to be interested in something like a cash because it's not pure vapor. It's real. It's a legit project. It's got AI. It's deep in. It meets all of that criteria. But they can't buy for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons that people don't think about is custody. If you, like me and you, we'll buy our cash. We're crypto native. I'm happy to hold my cash on a Kepler wallet. I'll stake some of it. I'm happy to manage my own coins because I don't have a company, shareholders, investors. I don't have a board to speak to. I don't have to say to them like, oh, well, they're saying, where is it? Is it secure? And I'm, yeah, it's in my wallet. Like, what do you mean it's in your wallet, your hot wallet? What happens if something happens to you? What happens to your private keys? That kind of stuff is a real consideration in crypto. You and me, we know that it's better to keep it in our own wallet, but big players do not think that way. The big institutions, they want somebody else to hold it for them. They want custody services. And one of the biggest is Coinbase custody. Coinbase custody is where they will take your coins in their fully regulated platform and they will hold them for you, right? So if you have 8 figures of a cash and you're buying it on behalf of your fund, you'll want to put it with Coinbase, but that's not possible at the moment. AKT is only on a handful of exchanges, none of which offer a custody service like that. And when it goes on Coinbase, and it will, it's been announced, it's going to go on there in the next few days probably. It's been about 10 days since they announced it, so it's coming soon. Typically, it's 2 to 3 weeks between announcement and getting listed. If they then also added to the custody platform, the custody option, and I've looked at some supported assets here, which you'll look in a second, then these big players can now buy a big stack of a cash, or if they have some, they can consolidate it and they can move it into Coinbase Prime and hold it in Coinbase custody. This is super, super, super important. This is huge. Render, Fetch, all the other AI ones, maybe not BitTensor yet, but most of the big AI projects, and of course all the projects, layer ones, layer twos, they all have this solution. If you go and look, Fetch is on this, FET, right? Coinbase Prime, Coinbase Custody. Good. You might think that a cash is better than Fetch, and it is, I agree. That Fetch doesn't do fucking shit compared to a cash, in my opinion. But that does not matter as much as liquidity and custody. If you're a big player and you want to buy a lot, first of all, you need to be able to buy a lot. Can you buy a lot of a cash right now? 20 million of trading volume a day is not that much. Can you buy a lot of Fetch? 1.6 billion trading volume of Fetch. You can buy a lot of Fetch. Just think, the fact that a cash is so doing so well, while it has such a disadvantage, is insanely bullish to me. Now, they need to fix that. They have to fix that. They have to get themselves listed widely, and they are doing it, right? Coinbase. But they also need to get Binance and all of that so that the volumes can go way up, so bigger players can come in, they can accumulate massive stacks, and they can put it into custody. Right now, Fetch, you can buy any amount of Fetch you want, and you can custody it with Coinbase or whoever. Render, 1.2 billion. Again, same thing. It's on Coinbase custody, right? You go down here, Render. Where are we? Render, same thing. The big thing we're looking for now is for a cash to get also listed. I don't see why they wouldn't, right? Because even though Render and Fetch are both ERC20 tokens, I know Render has this Solana token as well, but they're mainly an ERC20 or have been. Akash is its own chain built on the Cosmos SDK. So Atom is supported. If we find Atom here, so Atom is supported. They do support many Cosmos-based projects. I think Injective as well is on this. FOI. Where the fuck's I? Injective. There you go. Injective is another one. What else is on? What else is built on Cosmos? Say is its own chain built on Cosmos. Do they have Say yet? SEI. Maybe they don't have Say yet. They don't have Say, but the point remains. They do support those chains, right? They can take it in. They will, I imagine, at some point. Maybe not right away, but they will offer that service, and that's going to be huge. This doesn't mean price can't go down. This doesn't mean we go moon only. right? There's probably just the probabilities would say there's going to be a correction after it gets listed on Coinbase. That's very typical. But if a cash goes down 20 or 30 or 40%, especially if it pumps to like whatever 650 and drops back to 4 or drops back to 3, I would see that as a buying opportunity. If I get a chance, right? If I'm able to get my coins onto KuCoin or onto Coinbase and sell them at a decent price on listing day, I might sell some if I see, a real accelerated blow off. And that would have to look something like, let's say it listed on Coinbase here and it went spiked up like that. Would I sell some? Sure. I'd sell a bit if that happened. But if it listed and I woke up and it was already like that, right? If it listed here and by the time I woke up it was there, would I sell if it went to 590 and it's now at 480? No. Unless you're selling into the actual listing pump, there's no point because it's going to drop 30%. Yeah, it might drop 40 or 50%. But if you're not in that listing pump, then just wait. Again, if you think the top's in and that's it and it's over forever, sure. I don't think that. I think it'll go down, it'll consolidate, as you saw over here. It can do that, right? It can blast off, it can spend a few months going sideways, reaccumulating. But I think it's then going higher, all-time high and beyond. So I'm not hyper focused on selling into any of this. If I get a chance, I will. But this is just like the first step. There's Binance listings that need to come. There's OKX, there's Bybit, there's Perpetua Futures. There's so much liquidity left to be added and is ahead of us that I see everything setting up really well. Cash looking good, setting up good. And that's it. Where would I buy? A lot of people are going to ask this. I wouldn't buy until I see some kind of significant correction where it goes sideways for a bit, at least. I would need to see the daily bands go red and stay red, a bit like they did over here, right? All right, I'd have to see the uptrend end. I would have to see it go down a bit and then go sideways. I don't know when that's going to be. Anything you're buying here is you're buying in, anything above $3, you're buying into the accelerated uptrend. There's a support level there at 330. Like that could be where price comes back down to. Price might come back down to there. If it goes up like this and back down to there, that's a much better place to buy. Like over here, when it's had the move, it's corrected, it's back to support, that's a great place to buy. But that'll take time. So there's no rush. You have to wait, see what happens, and play it as it comes. GM.